Again, if you're looking at short-term rental, find a great short-term rental manager. I don't do that. It's a little bit more in depth, a
Right.
little bit more like running a hotel. But it's important for an investor, if you're going to go that route, get the right company. Even if you're doing, 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, you still need the right company to work with you.
How have you seen the relationship between landlord and tenant over the last couple of years? And you're the sort of the middleman between landlord and tenant. You're supposed to deal with the stuff for the landlord, I guess, and hide them from these problems. But certainly at my firm, it seems like there's been some animosity between landlord and tenant the last couple of years.
I think it's grown. I think tensions have grown in many areas, not just with landlord tenant, but people seem to be a little bit more on edge because of the pandemic. But basically, what we're seeing is that tenants are at home more. So you start to see issues with the house. You're wearing things out a little bit quicker. The toilet's not flushing properly. The blinds aren't working properly. And, they are probably, owner responsibility. So we're going back to owners and saying, can you fix this? Can you fix this? And they are getting a little bit agitated, some of them, because, things are tight. They may not be working. Everyone's working circumstances has changed. But in general, most people are getting on pretty well. And the way we operate, it's really so simple. The tenant has an issue, they put it into our portal, we look at it, we review it, we let the owner know we're fixing it, and we move on like that. I think the big problem has been people being at home more. But that's changing now. People are starting to head out and head back to the office and go out to work and do different things. Yeah. So it's changing.
Now, the vast majority of the properties that you manage are in Florida, obviously. Do you find most of the owners that you represent are local, or are you getting people internationally? Where are most of your actual clients?
We've got them all around the world. Yeah. The furthest point we've got an owner in Australia.
Really?
We've got many owners in India. We've got owners in Europe. So we're pretty much international. We've just actually sold a property for an owner that lived in Hawaii. We'd managed it for 10 years. So our reach is international. And then when somebody comes to us that many times, I'll be honest, I don't even meet the owners. We don't meet the owners there. I've got owners in Trinidad that bought 6, 7, 8, 10 houses, never even looked at one of them.
Really?
We didn't meet for maybe 2 years, but we've become really great friends. I've managed those properties for 15, 16 years now. So it's just a great business to be in. We meet a ton of people. I'm part of the global real estate board. So I get to go, do different trips to different countries and meet these great people. So yeah, if you're around the world, it's a great place to invest. Florida is a great place to come.
No kidding. So let's say I own a house, couple rental properties, and at some point there's that decision to be made. Do I want to manage this thing myself or turn it over to Greg Mann and have you manage it? Well, what goes into that decision for an investor?
I think a lot of it's down to experience level. Smart investors, if you look at people that are really tuned into business and know what they're doing, if they're not very good at something, they're not going to waste their time trying to get better at it. So a smart investor will say, you know what, it's worth my while investing in a good property manager because I can refocus my efforts somewhere else. We do get folks that are kind of pushed into management and becoming a landlord, and it's typically a homeowner that's got relocated. They may consider moving into managing themselves. It's a hard thing to do. Think it through very seriously if you're a property owner, because you'll make a lot of mistakes. You won't have the right documents. You won't probably have an attorney in place like I do. So you've got to think it through. How do I do maintenance? How do I collect checks? How do I communicate with the tenant? A lot of people that aren't property managers have no clue how to do that, and that's when they have problems.
So I imagine a lot of your long-term clients right now who you've been managing property for is now the market's gone up and they're thinking, okay, do I sell or do I keep renting out? And you're having to have those conversations, I imagine. What's going into that thought process and that decision-making process?
Well, first of all, we work a little bit differently from some property management companies. We get a lot of referrals from other agencies. So we guarantee the agent that sends us that property will get that property back to sell if the owner decides to sell. So we're going to communicate that situation. If it's a property that we've taken on board and there's no agent involved, we're going to first sit down with the owner and say, okay, what is your goal now? You want to sell the property because of what reason? Because of this, this, and this. Okay. So then you should do an exchange property and avoid the tax. Or do you, okay, paying a bit of tax on this now? No, I need to get the money out. I need to do this for whatever. So we will put them in touch with the professionals that can advise this is the best route for you to go with your situation, with your tax implications and your financial situation. If they still decide to sell, we're going to list the property and sell it, and we're going to get top dollar for them in a very efficient manner. We also have to think about the tenant, because the tenant's got a lease in place that has to be adhered to. So we just can't suddenly list a house and there's 6 months left on the lease and the tenant is like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, we've got to work with them to do that. And my staff, you all know Dee Dee really well. She will actually start looking around, shopping around for other properties to put these tenants in before they end up homeless in this market sometimes, because you can't find property.
So if I own an investment property and I have a tenant there, they have 9 months left on the lease, and I want to sell, I mean, how does that normally work? Well, I mean, that has to come into the decision-making process. How does it work?
Basically, it's going to be like this. You can't end that lease.
Yeah.
You can put the property on the market, and let's just say there's 100 potential buyers. 75 of those buyers will be people that want to live in that house. So you've only got maybe 25 investors looking at it. They're going to start looking to say, is this a good investment now? The rent is X, Y, Z. The cost of the home is X, Y, Z. Maybe this is not the one for me. But 9 months out is a long way out. The lease stays in place. I would really truly advise an owner to probably think more towards a 2 to 3 month period of time. That gives a tenant a little bit of heads up. We've just got one of my agents now is selling one of his personal properties. There's a tenant in there. They've just gotten under contract yesterday. The tenant's been notified. Dee Dee's been working with them. And, you know, now we're at the point where they're doing home inspections. They've still got plenty of time. They've got almost a year on their lease on that particular one.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a bit of time on that one. But what the owner will do, he will probably end up doing what's kind of called cash for keys. He'll kind of like pay for them to get out.
What's a normal cash? I see what you're saying. You're like, hey, tenant, we know you don't have to get out. Here's some cash to entice you to leave. Is there a certain number that's sort of a sweet spot that tenants are good with? Is it a month rent? What's normal?
It's more like 2 to 3 months rent.
Really?
Yeah, security deposit back, at least 2 months, maybe 3 months rent. Because if you look at inflation now and the normal things, how much does it cost me to rent a rental truck to move my furniture? How much is it going to cost me to get from point A to point B? These things are a lot more. So you're looking at security deposit, minimum 2 months rent, possibly 3.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it really could be.
But then again, if the owner is making so much dough because the market went up so much, it's probably worth it to them as well.
It really is. And honestly, I actually made this comment to one of my owners the other week. You know, sometimes you're in a restaurant and the meal's not that great and it's a $25, $35 and they comp it. Think it that way. It's a $35 comp because the numbers are so much bigger with what we're dealing with.
And Greg Mann is here, by the way. He's the best property manager in all of Florida, if you want to ask me. One of the biggest as well. And he does a great job for all of our clients who own investment properties. He handles everything. Like, turnkey. You don't have to do anything other than sit back and collect checks every month. What's the best number for you if someone has questions off the air, by the way, Greg?
It's 407-774-9858.
Perfect. Let's talk about the real estate market in general, though. So this pandemic hit 2 years, 4 months ago, something like that. As we were all talking back then, I don't think that any of us expected to have the hottest real estate market we've ever seen in our lifetime. I mean, a lot of people are saying they predicted it now, but I didn't hear them 2.5 years ago, that's for sure. And I think Florida's a little bit different than the national market. Okay, I do. I think Florida is better positioned than the national real estate market. We have so much demand here, so many people coming here from other states, other countries even. However, I feel a slight turn in the market here a little bit, I think. What do you see on the sales side of real estate here?
Okay, we're seeing a slight decline. It's kind of jumped a little bit, though, because when the rates jumped up, everyone seemed to put the brakes on pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And now suddenly people are getting back into the market. And we've only been really, if you think about it, a couple of months where the rates starting to change and move up. I did an open house this weekend at a property over in Longwood. 25 people came through. We had 13 offers. So has it changed?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
Has it,
I'm reading all these reports where it feels like it's changing a little bit, but then I hear the stories, boots on the ground, like you're saying, where, we got 20 offers in one day. So just like it's been for 2 years. So I don't know either. What is your sense of the rest of the year?
I think we're going to still see home prices maintaining and appreciating. The percentage amount, I'm not sure. Obviously, we're going to see some more rate hikes on the interest side of things. And towards the end of the year, we may see things just plateau out. But at the moment, honestly, you just cannot get listings. You cannot get them quick enough. You cannot keep them on the market. Not that you want to keep them on the market, but from a real estate agent's perspective, they need something to market because it's on and off. They've got no exposure. So it's going to be an interesting next 6 or 8 months, and into next year is going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Do you see Florida as a little bit different than the rest of the country? You know what I mean? Is Florida different, or is it the same as the rest of the country?
Well, we're one of the hottest markets in the country right now, and we've got so much to offer. I mean, we all live in Florida because we love it. You know, the weather, the beaches, the work environment. So yes, people are still flooding to Florida. I don't see Florida slowing down too much.
I tend to agree. And we're going to read all these articles about the national real estate market and how it's slowing down and this is happening and that's happening. But I think Florida's going to be in better shape than the rest of the country for a longer time. I really do.
Yes, I do. You know, currently we've got about 1 month's worth of housing inventory in the market.
Which is low, correct?
Really super low, yeah. So
where should that be? Where's a sweet spot for inventory?
You want probably 3 to 5, 6 months. Because if you think about it as it's rolling across, you know, when you see average days on the market being 8, that's brutally low.
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. I will say, as I'm scouring through the MLS on a regular basis, you start to see some properties on the market longer than they should be.
Right.
You know, and when I say longer, 45 days, 32 days. But then when you look at the pattern of that property, it's overpriced. Who knows why? It's not in the best location, or it's not in the best condition. And eventually that starts to adjust. So those things start to skew numbers too. Because now all of a sudden the board of realtors will be looking at, look at average days on the market. Well, that's gone up because of this. But is that a true reflection? If someone's overpriced a house that needs a ton of work and clearly shouldn't be at that price, that's not, in my mind, a totally true reflection of what's happening.
If I'm trying to invest in real estate, do I buy the best house in a bad neighborhood or a bad house in a good neighborhood? What do you think?
I would always buy the bad house in the good neighborhood.
Oh, really?
I had a client of mine yesterday talking about purchasing a property in California. Called me and said, hey, you know what? I've just got this great opportunity. It's $550,000. It's 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, wood frame house, 700 square feet. What do you think? I'm like, well, I'm not an expert in California, but let me take a quick look at the property. I Googled the property, and my first reaction was, run to the hills. Please, this is the worst neighborhood you could buy in. Every house had bars on the windows. There was trash down the street. So I called back and said, did you even Google this property? Well, I kind of looked briefly. I think you should look seriously. And you know what we need to do? Let's get you in touch with an agent that can help you in California, in that area, because you need an expert. Because you know, you can buy in the wrong neighborhoods here in Orlando, even if you know the neighborhoods well.
Right.
You know, and you're not looking at, you're just looking at appreciation on the house. You know, some neighborhoods just don't appreciate as well as others.
So that's a pretty big deal. Location, I guess, makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely does, yeah.
So you saved them from buying a house on Crenshaw in Compton then? Good.
All right, final question, and I think we hear this a lot too. We see the mortgage rates going up a lot, obviously,
Yes.
and I think last year at this time we might have been at 2.8, 2.9%. Now we're 5.6 or something like that. I mean, that is a very quick jump, we must say. How is that impacting, if at all, the real estate market as a whole?
Well, initially when the rates jumped quickly, people that probably a good example is someone who got under contract with a new construction property a year ago and is getting ready to close now. And guess what? They can't lock the loan that far out, and their loan was, you know, mid-2s, high 2s, 3s. Now they're going to close and the loan is 5.2. Oh, the ratios are suddenly wrong. They can't purchase this property. So we're seeing some new construction coming back onto the market. And again, you know, HOAs go up all the time. Property taxes change. And now you've got interest rates going up. Those three, the trifactor type of thing, is what's pushing some people out of the market. But it's not really pushing them out of the market totally. It's pushing them down in the market. You know, I want to buy the $700,000 home. Now I can only buy something that's around about $550.
Right.
But then I'm in the lion's den, because 550 is like that where 1,000 people are fighting for one house. So it's a little vicious cycle, totally.
Could it be good that the rates are going up? I mean, is it helping buyers in some way at all?
It's helping buyers in some way, because things will start to slow down. I think I always call it like the elastic effect. You know, you fire that elastic band and it pings out pretty quick and then slows down. So we saw a additional reaction. It's slowing down, and I think what you'll see is that when rates get up in, because we're going to see rates in the 6s.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. About it. You know, well, I can always remember when I first got into real estate. One of my office agents, a lady called Pat, there was an agent complaining about rates being 7.5%, and she turned around and she just gave this guy the side eye. You know, she goes, "I was in real estate when there was 17%. No one complained. We just got ahead, went on and purchased."
Yeah.
So I think you just wrap your mind around it as a buyer. I need to buy a home. This is the rate. Okay, I just can't purchase as much as I wanted, so I'll buy something a little bit less. And, you know, it can only be good for a buyer because eventually the market shifts from the seller to the buyer side.
Exactly. Greg Mann, awesome job, buddy. If you have an investment property, you don't feel like managing it yourself, call Greg, please, 407-774-9858. Or if you're looking to get into investing in real estate, you want to buy a rental home, watch it appreciate, make money every month, Greg is very good at sitting down with you and figuring out, okay, buy here, spend this much money, you'll make this much. He's very good at that. Honestly, the best in the business. Greg, thank you for joining me. Dee, you have a good one here, by the way. Dee,
I know.
Dee Dee's here. Greg works with Greg. She responds to emails with like 2 seconds.
I know.
It's unbelievable. You've got a very good one there, I assure you.
No, I certainly appreciate it. She's been with me a long time, and she's a really good girl and fantastic. I appreciate you, Dee.
Awesome work. All right, Greg, man. LilShawn, take a break, I guess, huh?
Sure.
Here's what we're going to do. Quick break. When we return, Mama Clark, I believe, will be calling it. Is that right?
Yep, I think she's calling right now.
It's Justin Clark on the Florida Man Radio Network.
Florida Man Radio.
The Shannon Burke Show.
Period Crunch is developed by a company called Intimina to encourage families to discuss the periods that young girls experience. It's a raspberry-flavored cereal. They're shaped like a uterus, and when you add milk to it, it turns into the color of blood, just like your period. They're great.
The Shannon Burke Show. Weekdays at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 Central on Florida Man Radio.
If you're buying or selling a home, I highly recommend Audrey Christman, advisor with 28 North Group at Engel and Volkers Real Estate. Call Audrey at 407-610-SOLD. That's 407-610-7653. Or visit audrey.28northgroup.com.
When was the last time you got your AC serviced? Who would you call if your AC stopped working today? If you don't know, then you may be stuck in the heat for a long time. You need to call Four Seasons AC because they have the best customer service in Central Florida and 24-hour same-day service. Don't get stuck in the